Candlepin Skins is sponsored in part by the Car Phone Store of Nashua.
Well, of course, we have our roll-offs to qualify bowlers for Candlepin Skins, and here are the 8 bowlers who recently qualified to make appearances here on the program. Mike Morgan and Paul Willitts join us today as the top 2 finishers in the recent roll-off. Next week, Pat Pay and Rico Baldinelli will be here, and then we move on down the line. Joe Rollins and Stu Bergman will be here in a couple of weeks. Bob Kelly and Paul Barassa the week after that. And, of course, 4 bowlers in each program, and the 2 top pinfall winners come back from week to week, and this is now Joe Ashline's 8th consecutive week.
I should clarify that statement at the beginning of the show where I said Joe didn't bowl good last week. According to his standards, he did not. That wasn't something I made up, folks. He thought he was very fortunate to be back.
Tim Lipke starts with a spare. And Joe with a 10. $10 box here, of course, in the opener. Now Paul Willitts and Mike Morgan approach the line. First, Paul Willitts.
And Timmy, of course, has the lead for the skin with his spare. Going to take another spare to carry over or a strike to win it outright. Well, one chance for Mike Morgan.
This is Mike Morgan's first appearance here on Candlepin Skins. Seems hard to believe because he's been on with us so many times, but this is his first appearance on this show.
Oh, great try by Paul Willitts. Now one chance, or it's going to be Timmy's. Not yet.
Mike steals it. We're going to hear from Mike, I'm sure, during the course of the program. Paul Willitts takes 9.
He's got the head pin and then the 8, 9, and 10.
We have that open microphone down in the pit area where the bowlers sit and congregate, and we often pick up some interesting conversation, and with Mike Morgan here, I'm sure that will be the case. So a $20 second box now, and Tim Lipke hits 5 on his fill. Joe Ashline with the split, the 5, 8, and 10. Tim for 2 in a row? No. Oh, what a shot
by Joe Ashline.
Oh, routine.
5 and 8, and he cut the 5 into the 10 pin.
10 bucks for Tim Lipke. What a marvelous shot.
There it is again. Almost went around the 10 pin.
That's just a great shot.
Almost deserved the skin on that one.
Mike Morgan now working on a spare.
Heartbreaker. Somebody throws a strike now.
Oh.
One more chance. Paul Willitts on lane 29. That looks pretty good too. A little full.
Mike, after the 9 drop, looking for his second spare in a row and to have the skin with Joe Ashline, and he's got it. So Mike is the spoiler again. $10 for Paul. Oh, I guess it's safe to say that Mike Morgan has caught on to this format a little bit. He's stealing money away already. Once from Tim, once from Joe, and now we have a $30 third box as Joe Ashline steps up working on a spare. A great spare from a moment ago. Oh, wow.
How did the 10 pin stay up? Big 9 pin drop on that spare by Joe in the second. Lipke, his bid for the strike, and he too, that close.
Well, let's see if both of these guys can come up with singles. Joe's the tougher of the 2, and he comes up with it for his second mark in a row, and now Tim with the wood there to help, and he's got the spare. Well, a fast start here this week. Already 2 marks for 3 of the 4 bowlers. Paul Willitts is the only competitor yet to throw a mark.
Well, they can rear back and throw now. That's already a carryover with spares. Take the strike by Mike Morgan now to win it outright. It's not going to happen. So we'll have our third carryover in as many boxes.
Mike gets 6 on his spare. Paul Willitts gets his first spare as he carries the diamond lead. It'll be a 9 for Mike, his first open box, and we'll get another look at the conversion of the diamond for Paul Willitts. This fourth box worth $45. Tim Lipke.
Oh, good looking ball in it, but he leaves himself the 4, the 8, and the 10.
Joe has a spare lead.
Timmy may find a way. Don't count him out on this shot. Clips that wood on the end.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. He did find a way. Oh, but Joe misses the 5 and the 8. And it's still there. Let's try Tim Lipke's shot again. Right off the cap of the wood, as you suggested, Dan. And Tim gets his second consecutive mark.
Mike leaving the ball just a hair to the left of the head pin. Drops 4. Paul Willitts on a spare.
Remember, Tim Lipke has a spare up there leading the skin here. And Mike can't convert. Let's see if Paul can take it away. He does not. It'll be a $45 skin for Tim Lipke. $10 for Paul, $9 for Mike Morgan. So the first skin of the day goes to Tim Lipke for $45. And this fifth box will be worth $15.
Oh, almost our first strike of the match.
Hard to believe we haven't had one yet, the way these guys are firing.
That's right.
Seen a lot of 9 drops already. Tim Lipke with a deuce on the spare. And there's a spare up in the 5th for Joe. And Tim's going to have to try and work out of this one.
I think he wants the skins to build up again and win one. He won it. Seemed like a little letdown. Got 2 on a spare, and he's still got some work to do with this last ball. One for the head pin.
Well, he got 3, so he bails out with an 8 box and a 62 half for Tim. So Joe Ashline leading this skin with a spare up. Paul and Mike will take a crack at it here. You mentioned the final roll-off scores for this new group of bowlers. This recent roll-off was held at the Exeter Lanes in Exeter, New Hampshire. We want to thank the staff there for all of their help in coordinating the roll-off procedures. Well, let's see.
Paul's got possibilities with that 7-10. The way the wood is, there's another piece of wood in the back that you can't see, which should help him with the 7.
Oh, yes. That will have the skin. We'll have another carryover.
Oh,
and almost for Mike.
Good bid by Mike Morgan on the 2, 4, 7, and 10.
And it's a 9 box, and we will take a break. Halfway through game 1 here on Candlepin Skins. We'll be back to Londonderry in a minute. As we come back, a very close match. Good 4-way battle here, shaping up in the early going. We've got a carryover working. This 6th box is worth $30. And Tim Lipke will have a spare shot.
On the 5 and 8, piece of wood in between, and Joe gets a deuce on his spare. both on lane 29, the same thing that Tim and Lipke did. Timmy's trying to wave that front piece of wood out of the way. Now it's a nice little guard to the right. I think you can put this one in the spare column.
Yep. That's mark number 4 already for Tim Lipke. Still looking for our first strike of the day. That's part of the reason we've had all these carryovers, is that we've had no strikes. Eight for Joe Ashline.
76. Actually, he does catch a little piece of the wood at the right, but he was right on the 5-pin. No problem for Timmy. Paul working on a spare now. But first we'll look at Mike Morgan on lane number 30.
Mike a little full.
He opened with 2 spares, but it's been a little mini drought since then, and here's almost our first strike. Oh, what a shot.
Spare to have the skin, and what a shot for Mike Morgan.
Takes a lot of pressure off Paul in this single pin, but he'll need it for his score. He's right on it anyways. 9 fill on the spare with another one. Look at this one. Splits the 2 and the 4. 2-pin goes over and gets the 6-10.
That's another carryover. This 7th box will be worth $55 now. And Joe Ashline rips the rack. First strike of the day.
And Timmy's going to have a tough one in the 4, 8, and 10. It's a 7 fill on his spare. Nice. Wood is rolling back. I think he had visions of his snapping that wood. I think he's going to have to go to the left side of the 4-pin now. But let's see. He could snap the double wood.
Ooh. And the 10 for Tim. Good scores going here, and very close scores as we take another look at Joe's strike. The power he generates is just scary. Paul Willitts and Mike Morgan each working on spares, and they need a strike to have the skin here.
Paul's going to shoot at the 4 horsemen plus the 9-pin in the back. Mike Morgan, his bid for a strike to try to carry it over, but
that's a $55 skin for Joe Ashline.
oh, and another great shot by Mike Morgan.
2 marks in a row for Mike. It doesn't win him any money this time, but let's take another look at it.
Still on the side.
9 for Paul Willitts. Box number 8 worth $25. Tim Lipke off target.
Dropped that one just about on the foul line. Getting a little hop to it. Joe is going to shoot at the 1, 2, and 10. And Timmy just the opposite, the 1, 3, and 7.
Wouldn't surprise me if both of these are makes. There's one. Would not surprise me at all. Oh, Joe went for the inside, didn't get it. And the 8 box. Let's take a look at Tim Lipke's make.
Oh boy, that was quick too. Just threw the head pin right into the 7-pin. So he'll be leading for the skin here in the 8th frame. It's going to take a strike to win it or another spare to carry it over. I think Mike's thinking strike. A little full this time. He kicks out the 4 and 7. Leaves the 3, 6.
And doesn't have a split to shoot at. Paul Willitts, and Paul will have a spare leave also.
2 shots for the carryover.
No, Mike goes way down on that wood. wood. And he hears some boos from the crowd here. After those great shots he made, he plays the wood. And
Let's take a look at that. He almost goes by that piece of wood.
oh boy, that's a carryover. And this 9th box is now worth $50.
Half Worcester left for Joe Ashline. Tim Lipke working on a spare on 29. And he's going to go left, but far enough left so he drops 7.
And now Joe's got some work to do. Tim for the spare? Yes. 5 spares for Tim Lipke. And Joe gets out of town with a 7. Let's take a look at Tim Lipke again. Boy, we've seen some great shot making here.
Paul Willitts will shoot at the triangle in the right-hand corner, the 6, 9, and 10 with a piece of wood out in front, another one just to the left of the 9-pin.
Well, Mike Morgan spins a few extras down for an 8 drop. Remember, it'll take a spare to have the skin. Paul Willitts gets it. And Mike cannot get his. The carryover already created, though, so the 10th box will be worth $100. And Mike records a 10. Mike is in the overall lead right now, which is something we haven't paid too much attention to so far because we've had so many great shots. But Mike has the 125 through 9.
And that 125 through 9 could very easily be 20 or 30 pins less than that if he didn't make some great spares along the way.
Tim Lipke in the 10th.
This is on a spare. He drops 7, and he's got the 6, 8, and 10 with all kinds of playable wood down there.
Well, I would say a couple of spare leaves here. Given the setup for Tim. And there it is. His 3rd mark in a row. And Joe picks the 4-pin off the 7. Looks like Joe Ashline is going to be in 4th place at the end of game 1. That's a very unusual position for him. Tim Lipke's spare conversion now on the 6, 8, and 10, just clipping the 8-pin. Tim now just recording his fill in the 10th. This will have no bearing on the skin here.
It's 133 plus this ball, though. Great opening game for Tim Lipke at 139.
And it looks like he will be no worse than 2nd, depending on what Paul Willitts does here in the 10th. But
could be a $100 strike for somebody.
Yep. $100 skin available here in the 10th.
Both bowlers, I'm sure, have got that on their mind.
Mike Morgan can't do it.
Paul Willitts not only would win the skin, but help him out. He's on a spare. And, whoa.
Well, Paul kicked out the 4-pin, creating a spare situation, which is what he was more concerned about. 2 chances for the carryover.
Oh, wow.
Not there for Mike. Now it's up to Paul Willitts. For the carryover? Yes, indeed. Taking the $100 away from Tim Lipke. Mike Morgan will take a 9 for a 134. And Paul Willitts is at 126 plus a ball. They have 3 games in the 130s here as Paul Willitts records a 7 for a 133. So just 6 pins separating 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And Joe Ashline in a very awkward position for him in 4th place. But there's still 1 game to go here on Candlepin Skins, and we've got a big carryover when we come back. Well, I thought Mike Morgan put it quite well during the break, Dan. He said, New Hampshire's pitching a shutout right now.
That's right.
Joe Ashline from Nashua, Tim Lipke from Londonderry have done all the winning so far. Mike Morgan from Lynn and Paul Willitts from Framingham still waiting to get on the board. And that's the way it looks. And we've got a large carryover to start here on game 2. Joe Ashline will begin on lane 30. And Joe is in 4th place. Mentioned a couple of times that this is Joe's 8th consecutive week, and I think the most amazing thing about that, Dan, is that of the previous 7, he's won 6 of the previous 7 shows. He's finished first in total pinfall 6 of the 7 times.
He had a great comment to his young daughter, too, in the break. The daughter was yelling, "Daddy, Daddy." He says, "Yeah." He says, "And if Daddy doesn't get moving, we'll be going home real early today." Well, Tim Lipke on lane 29. This is $110. Did you mention that $110 skin?
That's correct.
You mentioned it already, right?
Yeah.
I don't listen half the time you talk. So.
I know you're very busy. You got a lot of things to do. There's a spare for Tim Lipke. Tim has been very sharp. That is 8 marks in 11 boxes for Tim Lipke now.
Been a lot of spoilers along the way in that first game.
Yeah, we've seen lots of... Oh! I was about to say we've seen lots of great spare making and not many strikes. And there's the second one of the day. First for Paul Willitts.
And its attempt to break up the no-hitter by Massachusetts with a strike and then first by Paul Willitts.
Well, if Mike doesn't throw a strike, that'll be Paul's skin for $110.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Nope, he's not going to get the 7-pin.
Oh.
Or is he? No. So Paul Willitts takes it for $110. And Mike Morgan will have to settle for the spare. So now that makes the second box here worth $10. And Joe Ashline comes up with a strike, and he throws his hands up as if to say, well, 1 box too late.
Wow. Those pins come flying from the right-hand sidewall. You see the running total at the bottom of the screen. That's box per box. 2-game total. So as we mention each week, you can keep an eye on the top 2. Those are the 2 bowlers that will be returning next week.
They will be joined by Pat Pay and Rico Baldinelli.
Timmy, another 2 on a spare. Half Worcester left. And then he clears out the 1, 5, and 9, so he's still looking at 5 pins with 1 ball remaining. So he's at 159. Joe Ashline 137 plus the fill on that strike. Paul and Mike already at 143 and 144 respectively, and then Paul's working on a strike on lane 29.
Remember, a strike up for Joe here in box number 2, leading the skin right now.
Looking for 2. Oh, that looked like a pretty good ball going into the 1-3 pocket. Leaves himself to 5 in the 7.
Paul Willitts has also qualified for the upcoming series on Stars and Strikes. And he's the number 1 seed, so he'll be over on the Sunday show in a few weeks. 9 for Paul. So that leaves it up to Mike Morgan. It'll take a strike to share the skin and create a carryover. Not to be, so that $10 skin will go to Joe Ashline. And Mike Morgan almost with the spare.
Scores are going to be very close. Joe Ashline was in 4th place, and he'll be the only one working on a mark in the second.
Yeah, the strike, of course, wins the skin, but probably more importantly for Joe, will help him make up some ground here as he's still in 4th, as you can tell.
It's scary with Joe Ashline. He's got 1 strike up. You know how many strikes he can throw. He's liable to throw another one, and all of a sudden he'd be in the lead.
Oh, there it is! How did you know that would happen?
Oh, he's just with Joe throwing, you know, there's a chance that every time he steps up there to throw strikes.
Joe's all over those $10 strikes, isn't he? See if he wins this skin as well. No, Tim Lipke almost takes it away.
Good bid there to try to have the skin, but 2 more shots with Paul and Mike. Right now the shift is kind of shifting immediately to the total pinfall because it's so close. There's a costly miss by Tim Lipke on the 7-pin.
Well, all of a sudden Joe Ashline will not be in 4th anymore.
Might be leading.
Yeah. And it's still there for Tim. The $9. First time today he's had 2 open boxes in a row. You heard him. Can't miss those.
No, you have to get all your legitimate spare leaves and then kind of make some of those that you don't expect to make. And Paul Willitts again will shoot at the 5-7. This time, let's see where the wood settles. Now, this time a little more favorable to him. In fact, I think if he gets right down in the middle of the lane, he's got a shot at making this for a spare.
There it is.
No problem. Gives him 171 plus the bonus ball coming.
Speaking of Candlepin Stars and Strikes, Sundays at noon here on the Winds of New England. Tomorrow, Paul Berger against Joe Tavernese. A couple of big Candlepin bowling names in that match.
Joe Tavernese making his first appearance with us.
That's right. Will it carry? No, it won't. And Joe Ashline has himself another $10 skin.
Oh, you had it.
Joe saying, nice shot, Mike. The 9 drop. And he'll take a spare. So now a very important ball here for Joe Ashline.
That's right. You probably take the lead if he has a decent fill, but could backfire if he doesn't fill it. This ball counts in both the 2nd and the 3rd frames.
$15 skin here in the 4th. Joe on a double strike, and oh my, boy, that's tough to do. The 5, 7, and 10 with no wood. That is tough to do.
Well, the first 2 strikes from the 1-3 pocket, which is his pocket. That time he crossed over into 1-2 and didn't fare so well with the 5, 7, 10, and
oh my, he made the 5, 10, but
that's going to be enough to give him the lead.
boy, that's a great 10 right there.
Better than that, buddy.
So all of a sudden, don't forget the other 3 bowlers are boxed behind, so it's going to be very close, all 4 bowlers now. And for the first time in a few boxes, the bowlers haven't got a strike looking at them by Joe Ashline. 1, 3, and 10 for Timmy. Piece of wood in front of the 10.
Ooh, a little bit too far on the outside for Tim that time, as he clipped the head pin right around the 3. Well, there have been 4 strikes in this match. 3 by Joe Ashline and 1 by Paul Willitts, and each one has won a skin.
Well, big ball for Paul Willitts. He's got to keep marking. Does he love a strike? He's right in the 1-3 pocket again. This time a little lighter, but gets 7 drop, and he's going to shoot at the 2, 4, and 5 triangle.
Tell you another thing, Dan. This is the first time in the match. Oh my!
Too sharp on the 2-pin.
This is the first time in the match that neither Joe nor Tim has put up a mark. So leaving the stage open for Paul and Mike, and Paul can just get a 9 box. So a skin available here for Mike Morgan if he can put up a spare. Or a strike.
Well, Paul Willitts He's ahead of Joe Ashline now by 4, and Tim Lipke by 9.
Well, let's see.
Spare.
Not the fill he was looking for either.
Chance for a spare in the skin, though. Outside.
Yes. $15 skin for Mike Morgan in the 4th. And another look. And Mike gets on the board. His first skin of the day. And you can sense his relief.
I didn't know what that sigh was for at first until you mentioned that. That's right. It's his first skin. And he's at 181 plus a ball. So he's got a chance of taking over the lead with a decent fill.
Well, Joe went from a distant 4th up to a contending 3rd with that double strike. And now he's got a spare in the 5th.
He was lucky there. His reaction on his face like, I didn't want to play that wood. I wanted to be all over the 4-pin.
Tim Lipke is in a full-fledged drought here. He's gone 3 boxes without a mark. Oh my.
1, 5, and 8.
Tim, the assistant manager here at the Londonderry Bowling Center. And he'll take a 9-box. Paul Willitts, off target, half Worcester right.
None of the 4 bowlers can afford to make any kind of mistake now. Very close. Oh,
wow.
By the head pin and got the 5.
And Paul will take a 7. And Mike Morgan now steps up, working on a spare.
Chance for himself to take the lead, at least temporarily. Joe Ashline has got a spare working in the 5th. And of course, he needs a strike to win the skin outright or a spare to carry it over. Otherwise, it's Joe Ashline's.
Well, not exactly a spare leave, but the wood will help.
He's made these all day long.
Yep.
This is a have. Sorry, Joe.
Not this time.
That was wrong, Joe.
So that's a $15 skin for Joe Ashline.
That's
and a 10-box, and we will take a break. Very tight 4-way battle here with 5 boxes to go on Candlepin skins. Joe Ashline in box number 6, which is worth $15. Joe with a good game working, had the double strike. Trying to come up from 4th place. That's a 7 fill on a spare as he misses the head pin.
He just pulled up at the point of release that time and pulled the ball to the left instead of staying down with his shot. That looked a little better, and he's right on it.
Is that the safest? Say, oh no? I thought I had this. I thought I was on the. It's solid 4-pin.
Tim Lipke needs a mark desperately here.
Wow, Tim just can't get anything going. He's very sharp in game 1. He had 7 marks, all spares. Then he had a mark to lead off this second game, followed that with a 2 fill, and he's been shut out ever since.
Now he's too sharp because he's full on the head pin, driving everything through the middle.
And the 10. Well, Tim is still very much in this, but can't afford to go too many more markless boxes, I would think.
Joe Ashline leads the skin with that spare. Oh, Paul goes through the middle.
Yep. Paul, the teacher in the town of Holliston, Mass.
Oh, good bid on the spare. Not quite. Will be left to Mike Morgan to either take it with a strike or Joe win another one.
$10, good 10 for Paul Willitts.
You can see he maintained a 7-pin advantage over Tim Lipke, but he'll be in third place.
And Mike Morgan gets
break.
a break on the 7-pin.
Certainly does. Just the 1 and the 3 left.
Mike from Lynn, Mass. works at General Electric.
This would be a carryover if he makes this. Take it right away from Joe Ashline. If he can convert this for a spare. No.
Look out. Oh, boy. So give another skin to Joe Ashline. It's $15 more. Joe creeping up on Paul Willitts, who's the money leader right now. But Joe just $5 behind, and look at that. Joe Ashline has taken the lead in the match. He's gone from 4th to 1st in 6 boxes. And he was 22 pins behind first after game 1. And let's see, you got a little pin on the 5-pin. Oh, he gets both the 5 and the 7.
Now he's got a tough piece of wood out in front.
102 in the 6th. Go up to take a look. He's got to drive this piece of wood a long way to get it back to the 8-pin. Nope. $10. Joe hasn't left anything standing in this game. And he has now taken the lead. And Tim Lipke finally has something to shoot at, the 3 and the 6.
A much needed mark. He was going markless. Paul had 3 opens, and also Mike had a couple. Could have been putting themselves a little distance between Tim and those two, but they didn't. So now they're in a dogfight here, going down the final 4 frames.
The 7th box worth $25. Paul Willitts.
Well, he'll shoot at the 1, 3, and 6. Makeable spare leave. Trying to have the skin temporarily anyways and keep himself in the total pinfall race.
Look out.
Oh, boy.
The 10. So it's Tim Lipke's skin unless Mike Morgan can spare or strike. See, we've had a skin 1 in every box in this second game. We had all kinds of carryovers in the first game. And Michael has a strike to win the skin. A $25 skin in the 7th for Mike Morgan. His first strike of the day.
25. Good. That's $40.
And a big mark it was too in the 7th frame. Just 3 pins ahead of Paul and 10 pins ahead of Timmy, but Timmy's working on a spare.
What was that? How do you knock out the 1, 2, 3, and 4?
Well, he's going to throw the ball a little harder. They call a marshmallow ball.
You could throw 1,000,000 balls down there and not do that. He knocked the 1, 2, 3, and 4 off the plate.
That'll be a great night here. Nice work up there.
And it'll be an 8. So Joe, after taking the lead,
I look like a button ball.
cooling off a little bit here.
Big ball for Tim in this match right here. This is a fight between Tim, Paul, and Mike, but Joe is certainly not so far ahead that he can rest easy. It's an 8 drop on the spare for Tim.
And possibilities here on the 3-4.
I'd almost want to go at the 4-pin and kick the wood forward, I think.
Oh, he got it.
Either way, I guess.
2 in a row. Big marks for Tim Lipke.
He's within 12 of Joe now. He's got that spare working. Paul Willitts needs a mark away to the right.
Paul's gone 4 boxes in a row without marking. Make it 5 now.
Wanted that ball, the first ball. He's at the 4-5. He'll be open again, as Doug said, with a 9. Gives him 223.
And with Tim Lipke already ahead of him with a mark up and Mike working on a strike, Willitts may be in some trouble here with 2 boxes to go.
Of course, if Mike were to throw another strike here, he'd pretty much take over the lead. It's not going to be a double strike. Needs this, or Tim Lipke will have this. Will have the skin with the spare. Will take the skin. I shouldn't say have. He needs this to have.
Oh,
yes,
he got it.
He does.
And a big spare as well. Spare on strike for Mike Morgan.
I need that. You're pushing me.
That makes the 9th box worth $50, and this thing is going to go right down to the wire. Look at that.
Also tied now with Joe Ashline for the lead is Mike Morgan, and he has the spare working, so he'll take the lead.
And Joe Ashline.
There it goes.
Chance.
Oh, that wood stopped it. That pin was going. Piece of wood was coming from the right. That piece half in the channel there stopped it.
Got it. Spare in the 9th. This is our first carryover in the second game.
Advantage Joe and Mike right now. Tim Lipke has to keep marking.
Oh, he pulled that ball.
Well,
got away with it. Oh,
certainly did. 8-pin drop, 1 in the 3 left.
Same one Joe had.
Right on it.
Still in it.
Well, Tim has figured out what was wrong, apparently. He had 5 open boxes in a row, and now he's got 3 spares in a row.
He climbs within 4 of Joe Ashline.
Paul Willitts needs marks now.
The problem for Paul now is he has to climb over a couple bowlers. It was 1 he had to catch is a little easier, but when you got 3 ahead of you, and he'll be open.
$10 for Paul, but unless he gets some real breaks, looks like he may be out of luck.
Yeah, he needs some help from the other bowlers on these marks. Well, focus shifts to Mike Morgan now. Important ball on the spare in this 8th. A strike would win the skin. It's already a carryover possibility. Oh, wow.
No. 4 on the spare. And that means our last skin of the day will be a carryover worth $100. So we're going to have a lot riding in this last box.
Be very close between Joe, Tim, and Mike. Joe and Tim both have spares up.
Good 10 for Mike Morgan as he's patient with the spread eagle. So a check on the scoreboard, and you see Joe Ashline figures to take the lead, although Tim Lipke is also working on a spare just 4 pins behind him. And they will both probably, well, certainly Joe will, you would think, but maybe Tim also will jump over Mike Morgan. So a lot happening here in the 10th, and it's also a $100 skin, just 4.
Just 4. 4 horsemen left plus the 610.
That 4 fill ties Joe with Mike Morgan.
Oh, what a mark. What a spare that is. Wow.
I was about to say that 4 fill tied him with Mike Morgan, but more importantly, he didn't have anything to shoot at. But I forgot who was up there.
How many times do you split the 4 horsemen and leave one of the 4 horsemen standing, let alone clear out another 2 pins, which is a 6 and a 10?
And an 8 fill for a 152. So Joe recovers from a 117 opening game with a 152 for the two-game total 269. Now you see that he's still got challenges coming from both Tim Lipke and Mike Morgan.
Well, Timmy's got to be shooting for Joe. Hopefully, even if he comes close, he'll be far enough ahead of Mike. But Mike's going to have a shot no matter what happens.
Tim looking to break it up. It doesn't happen. The 4, 6, and 7. That was on a spare fill.
He needs to convert this and then throw a strike to pass Joe by a pin.
No. So that means Tim will have to hope for second.
And I don't know if Mike is going to need a mark. He's not.
Nope.
He needs a 9-box.
259 for Tim Lipke, and you see Mike at 251, so he'll need 9 to pass Tim Lipke for second. Now remember, there's a $100 skin at stake here, and Paul Willitts, who's out of it in terms of total pinfall, unless he were to throw a triple strike here in the 10th, could still win the skin. He needs a carryover now to win it.
So Joe Ashline is safely in. They're coming from a long ways back. Just a matter of if it's going to be Tim or Mike.
And Paul Willitts won't be back, and right now at least he's our leading skins money winner at $110, but there's still $100 to go. Mike Morgan can take care of that with a strike here. He could take care of everything. He would qualify for next week and win the skin if he throws a strike here.
He's got to be thinking 9-box.
Well, seems pretty safe, although that wood rolling away. The 5, 6, and 10. Remember, he needs 9.
That's right. He's got a choice here. I don't think that wood is at an angle to take all 3 pins. So he may say, I'll give the skin to Joe. Let me try to get a 9-box. That's exactly what he's doing.
There it
that
is.
Gives him the. Yeah, he just threw his hands up. He knew what he was doing. Made a mistake on this pin, and who knows?
So Mike Morgan finishes second. Joe Ashline wins the last skin in the 10th. And what a great game that was for Joe Ashline. A 152. He also took most of the skins money as well. We will be back to wrap it up on Candlepin Skins in a minute. Joe Ashline and Mike Morgan will be coming back next week. Mike with the late finish in the 10th to beat Tim Lipke by just 2 pins, who finished 3rd. Paul Willitts finishing 4th, and now the skins totals. Joe with that last $100 skin in the 10th. He made most of his money in that second game as he dominated with the double strike early, and everybody on the board, on the skins tote board, Dan, but the story, easily Joe Ashline. He'll be back for his 9th week next week.
One thing about Joe, if you got him down, don't let him up, and certainly don't look over your shoulder because he's coming.
We'll be back next week. Don't forget, of course, tomorrow at noon, Joe Tavernese and Paul Berger on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Until then, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew, I'm Doug Brown. Have a great weekend, everybody.